We are entering Dr. Arun's Photography and Vintage Camera Museum.
Good. Okay. This is Dr. Arun. A little about this collection and museum. Dr. Arun is a professional, is a dentist. He collect all these cameras 20 years. Still he collecting cameras. This is a small little about this collection museum. And this is an extra large format process camera made in UK 1895 camera. This camera used Mysore Maharaja Palace. They take photos, the family separate use this camera. This is a museum first room. This is a box camera. Kodak company only introduced this box camera. There is a pinhole camera. In this museum, this is the first pinhole camera, 1928. These are still working cameras now also. It's very rare and expensive cameras. This is another one DL twin lens reflex camera. This is the first twin lens reflex camera, rolling quad. This camera introduced in 1938. It's a very rare expensive camera. Only 12,150 pieces sold in 1938. This is the first lens is a viewfinder lens, second lens is a capture lens. It's a 120 film roll camera. These are Rolleiflex gold editions. This camera used only rich people only will order and use this twin lens reflex cameras. This is a made in Germany camera. Still now also it's working. This is a folding bellows camera. This camera introduced in 1892-1950s. This is all film roll camera, 120 film roll, 220 film roll cameras. Still working cameras all. These are viewfinder cameras. Yashica is a very famous viewfinder cameras. Yashica Ministry 3, Konica, Yashica DX. These are all single lens reflex cameras. Minolta also number one cameras in that time. Now this brand is not available in market. These are rare cameras, rare SLR cameras. These are Russian country cameras. Zenit is a famous, very famous and cheapest camera in that time. This is a Zenit photo sniper made for Russian military army 1965 to 1982. It's a Russian camera. It's a sniper type camera, SLR camera with a zoom lens attached, 300 mm zoom lens. While taking photos, the army people stabilize the body and take photos. Trigger is the image capture. This is a rangefinder cameras. Is a viewfinder cameras. Viewfinder is easy to use, that type of cameras. Sorry. These are 16 mm movie cameras. This is all instant camera. Polaroid company only introduced instant camera 1948. Polaroid Kodak is very famous in that time. These are very expensive cameras. This is all 8 mm movie camera with interchangeable lens. You see the multi lens. It's still working now also it's on. It's a home movie camera. It's a flashes and accessories. This is a vintage flashes. Once you click it, the bulb will be burst. And you want to take another photo, you want to fix this, next another bulb. This is the type of vintage flashlights. This is a Ashley Pentax 6x7 1969 Japan. This camera weight 2.3 kgs. It's a 600 mm lens. This is a folding pillows with a Momia. Momia is a professional medium format SLR camera. It's a Hasselblad. Hasselblad is one of the famous camera in the world. Hasselblad camera used first time on moon. It's a Cave 60. It's a Russian camera. Still in this museum, 60-70% still working cameras are here. These are very rare vintage cardboard cameras. This is a pinhole camera. Kodak company introduces the pinhole camera. Once only you will use this camera. Next, Pray can take photos. Develop that type of camera. These are very rare vintage cameras. These are sub-miniature cameras, cigarette lighter come camera, Miranda cool drinks with camera. These are very smallest camera in that time. World's smallest camera, cigarette lighter come camera. It's a spy type of cameras. It's a radio come camera. It's also cigarette lighter come camera. It's a World War II US Air Force camera, this 4-1. It's called a aircraft camera. It's a video camera. Once you give the key, it will be a video record 10 to 15 minutes. This camera weight, the video camera weight is 10 kgs above. Medium format SLR sensor will come. This is one very special camera in that times. Is a horizon is a 1967 camera. This camera is a panoramic camera, 180 degree. The whole place capture this. That type of camera. This one is a Leica camera. Is a very costliest camera in the world in that time, 1935. It's a world first high shutter speed, 1/1000. It's a rangefinder camera. Is a binocular, is a 3D camera. Folding bellows cameras. Kodak company famous folding bellows cameras. These are Pentax and SLR cameras. Pentax is number one camera in 1940s. Historic moments. This is all Nikon Canon SLR cameras. This is again one is underwater camera. These are very rare cameras. The Canon SLR cameras. This is not a 70 mm theater projection lens. This is a 35 mm projection lens. This is a slide projector, huge one. It's a 8 mm projector, binocular, Polaroid instant cameras with cartridge. These are 8 mm film roll cartoon movies. These are digital point and shoot cameras. TLR cameras and viewfinder camera. There is lenses, movie lenses. This is a 102 years oldest camera. It's a studio camera, extra large format process camera made in UK. It's also working condition. The original studio camera, 1940s camera. It's a Mitchell 35mm Hollywood movie camera. It's a world level famous camera, Mitchell. Huge camera, is a very rare, only one in India. It's a 1890 camera. In that time, we want to take photography. In 10 people standard, we want to use this huge cameras. Only you see this huge cameras. It's very rare cameras. This is a Graflex Fairchild K20. This is a World War II US Air Force camera. It's a still camera. Its camera weight is 10 kgs. Still working also. It's the original camera with box.
Discovery that if you poke a hole in the wall of a dark room, you create camera obscura. Light passing through the hole is projected upside down and retains color and perspective. The first historical mentions of camera obscura in pinhole photography are by ancient philosophers Mauzi, Aristotle, and Alhazen. In 1490, Leonardo da Vinci records detailed descriptions of camera obscura and uses it to trace stuff. By the 1700s, camera obscura devices are common, and there's evidence to suggest artists like Rembrandt, Vermeer, and Caravaggio used them. Sketchy. In 1724, Johann Heinrich Schulte discovers that substances mixed with silver nitrate react to light. Sadly, the images fade soon after. Until one day in 1826, the world's first photograph is taken by Joseph Nicephore Niepce in France using a procedure called heliography. Voila! This exposure takes several days, and you can see the sun lights up both sides of the building. After his death, Niepce's partner Louis Daguerre continues his work and creates the first practical photographic process in 1833, the daguerreotype. In 1839, the French government buys and declares the daguerreotype free to the world. This is when cool stuff starts happening. Like the first photo of a human. Although this exposure lasted around 7 minutes, a man was getting his shoes polished and was standing perfectly still, thus making history. This was also the first photo with soul. And of course, the world's first selfie is taken by a guy named Robert Cornelius. In 1840, Henry Fox Talbot unveils the calotype, a process based on negatives that allows for paper copies to be made. However, Talbot tried to charge license fees for the calotype, so it didn't really catch on. Compared to Daguerre, whose name is now one of 72 names inscribed on the Eiffel Tower, Talbot spent his life fighting lawsuits and eventually gave up on photography. You could say Talbot became a bit negative in the end. It's also important to mention the contribution of Sir John Herschel, who published many essential research papers and coined the term photography, from the Greek words of light and drawing. By the 1850s, mobile photo studios were all the rage because photos had to be developed on site. Exposure times were about 3 minutes long, so people used neck braces and drugs to keep still. It's also why nobody smiled in early photos. What could be the world's first Photoshop occurs in 1861. The head of Abraham Lincoln is placed on a more noble body. The world's first color photograph is also produced. It's of a bow. In 1871, Richard Leach Maddox, who had an outstanding mustache, invents the gelatin dry plate. This means smaller cameras and no tripods necessary. Great success, old chap. Now, here's a cool story, bro. In order to settle the debate of whether all 4 of a horse's hooves ever simultaneously leave the ground, Englishman Edward Muybridge sets up 12 cameras with wire triggers in the path of a galloping horse. The world's first photo sequence proves that they do. In 1885, George Eastman, founder of Eastman Kodak, invents roll film. The first handheld camera, the Kodak, goes on sale in 1888. Why Kodak? Because Eastman just liked the letter K. The Kodak came preloaded with 100 exposures that needed to be sent back to the factory for processing and reloading when the roll was finished. Eastman takes mass-market photography a step further in the early 1900s with the Brownie, an affordable box camera that introduces the concept of the snapshot. Lights employee Oscar Barnack builds the revolutionary 35mm Leica 1, which goes into production in 1925. The camera allows photographers to go mobile and capture the moment. Some of the most iconic images in history would later be taken on Leicas. The first single-lens reflex SLR camera arrives in 1949. And the first digital image is created from a scan in 1957. However, digital cameras would only arrive a little later, in 1975, when Steve Sasson, a young engineer working for Eastman Kodak, invents the first digital camera. But nobody at Kodak is interested in digital. Who wants to see their photos on a TV? Why change the profitable film photography formula? Too late. Kodak only later switches to digital in 2004 and files for bankruptcy in 2012. The digital revolution begins in the 90s. DSLRs, point-and-shoots. Photography had never been more accessible. Well, until the first mobile phone with a camera came out in 2000. Game changer. 15 years later, and modern smartphones now have insanely powerful cameras. In just seconds, we are able to capture every moment and share it online. Photography has become a global passion and has truly brought the world closer together.